So I decided to make one last video to show the actual pumping mechanism. I realized last time I didn't actually pull the whole plunger mechanism out. So I did that. It was a little bit hard to actually pull out because of the tolerances are, I'm sure, ridiculously tight, and actually still are on this pump, but anyways, so I pulled that out. This is just your spring retainer. Set that aside. But here's the actual plunger. So you have 6 lines in the bottom there, which are not actually, those don't actually line up with the 6 individual cylinders. But if you look down inside of here, first of all, you can see on the very end that bolt, straight down to the end. That bolt is removable, and that's where your feeler gauge will go to set the timing of the pump. If you look at the top, that you can't see it all the way down in there, but the fuel would be entering from the fuel shutoff solenoid, would be entering it in that little slot down there. It's hard to see, and I can't really point it out to you with both my hands full, but it's a slot running lengthwise relative to the camera down in there. Not at the end of the pump, but most of the way down. So that slot is going to line up with the actual slots in here as the pump rotates on its intake stroke. So as it's intaking, those will allow the fuel in to the end where the actual compression area would be, and then it's going to get pressurized as the plunger goes in. And the pressurized fuel will go in the very tip there. So it's pushing to the end, the pressurized fuel goes in the tip there, and then there's a hole that runs all the way along the inside of this mechanism to 2 places. First is that hole there, which I was showing earlier. The sliding mechanism covers that hole as a relief valve, but also to the actual distribution port. So this little area here on the side, right, that is what actually rotates to line up for each of the 6 cylinders. And there are 6 holes in the sides, fairly close to the top. You can kind of see them as I rotate around. It's not super easy to see, I know, and the camera angle's not great and lighting's not ideal, but you can get a general idea that there are 6 of them. And those holes in the wall, see if I can't get close enough. Those holes in the wall run along through the inside of this casting and actually go to the 6 fuel lines, right? You'll just have to trust me on that, kind of hard to see. Anyway, so this plunger pulls up and then pulls in fuel along those lines on the bottom. Starts pushing in while it's rotating. And then once it hits a certain point, builds enough pressure, this slot on the side opens up, pushes fuel to that specific cylinder, and then once it has reached a certain amount of travel, based on how much throttle you give it, this will open up. And when that opens up, you stop spraying fuel on that injector. And that's the actual pumping mechanism itself. I'm just going to leave that there. Also, pushing this in is ridiculously tight, like I was saying. To actually get this in there, the tolerances are so tight, it's ridiculous. And if you actually look down inside of my pump, there is a tiny bit of scarring, and you can see where some of the metal shrapnel has probably damaged it, and I'm willing to bet that there is tiny bits of metal plugging some of my injectors. So as I'm rebuilding this truck, I'm going to be replacing all the injectors and the lines. So that's that. Maybe I'll make one more video outlining the cold start mechanism once I've done a little bit of research on that. But hope this was helpful, and thanks for watching.